Welcome to the show today. I'm Shirley Makela with the Sudbury Horticultural Society, and we're going to be going through a number of different areas that we can prepare our yards and gardens for the fall season coming up. Right now, before we get started, I'm talking to Eric Hansen about an important project that the Society is undertaking, and that is the Master Gardeners Program. And this is a program that we're going to be undertaking during the winter months to train particular people to increase their expertise in home gardening. Eric, can you tell us just how we go about getting involved with this and who is eligible for the program?
Yeah, this is a program that has been started up by the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Food in cooperation with the local society. It is a program where a group of volunteers are trained to be able to answer questions from the public about gardening in general. And in order to become a master gardener, you must be recommended by the local horticultural society. You must attend an orientation meeting. You must pass a basic eligibility test, and you must begin an independent study course, which is a university course from the Guelph University. And it is a correspondence course which you can do at your own time during the year. You must fulfill commitment as the Master Gardener program coordinating committee set up. You must volunteer 40 hours during the year towards the Master Gardener, and within the following year, the independent study course should be completed. The first year you will be called a Master Gardener in training. After the first year, when you have completed all the requirements, you will be called a Master Gardener. And if anybody would be interested in being a volunteer for this Master Gardener program and will comply to the requirements, thank you, Shirley, requirements for this Master Gardener program, we will be happy to have you call the Horticultural Society or myself, and it is hoped that this program can get off in the fall, so within the next year we will have a group of Master Gardener which will be able to answer questions from the public.
It sounds very interesting, Eric. It sounds very challenging, but hopefully it's also going to be a good bit of fun. Can we have your phone number at home so that people that might be interested can ask for more information from you?
Yes, my phone number is 566-8916.
566-8916.
That's right, yes.
Okay. Eric, while we're on this beautiful location, could you give us some idea about how we get going preparing our yards for the winter season? Lawn care, for instance, the main growing season is over now for this year. Can we just ignore our yard now until next spring?
Well, no, you can't really ignore it. Lawn care, as you mentioned, is one thing you can take care of now. This is a time where you give your lawn the final feeding for the year, and you should use a fertilizer with a little low nitrogen and high potassium and phosphate, potash. I myself prefer a low nitrogen. However, some people say that a high nitrogen is okay for the fall. However, there's different ideas what is the best.
So when you're selecting your fertilizer, there are three code numbers. You would go for a low first number, which represent nitrogen.
Number, the nitrogen.
And the higher numbers,
phosphate, and the third number is potash.
Okay, and you fertilize in the same way that you have been throughout the summer.
Yeah.
What about cutting? Do you still cut your lawn?
Cuttings, yes. I cut it right up to the window, because I feel that the less tall grass you have, the less chance you have for it to mat during the winter under the snow and get mildew and things like that.
Okay, thank you. That should protect it quite nicely then until spring.
Yeah, it should. It's a good time to seed bare spots also at this time of the year.
And they'll take off this time.
They will start off and be ready to go.
Settle in so that they're growing like great guns in the spring.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Now we'll follow through into the backyard, and Claire Liinamaa will show us what you do with roses at this time of the year. Claire, a lot of people have invested a fair amount of money in roses and rose bushes, and they want to protect that investment by caring for them properly when the cold weather comes around. Can you explain just exactly how you go about giving your roses the protection that they need to survive our winters?
All right, Shirley. The main thing at this time of the year, first of all, you have to wait until we have a hard frost. That is below -5 degrees centigrade, and most of the foliage at that point in time will be dead. But the main thing, you don't want to clip them right down at this time of the year. All you want to do is make sure that the wind during the winter doesn't whip them. So you take the top portion of the bush off.
This is always a hard thing for people to massacre their rose bushes, but it's something that really must be done.
Oh, it has to be done, Shirley, because otherwise in the cold of the winter and the wind's whistling through and it whips it, it will dislodge the root system and cause damage below. Now, another thing, in our cold winters, we don't have enough protection for the hybrid tea roses, which this one is. Therefore, the crown of the plant, which is here,
now that's the section that
covered.
That's the section that the root, where the root and the branches kind of join at an odd angle.
Right. Plus the fact that that is where the graft is. Most hybrid tea roses are a graft of two types, a hardy rose and a tea rose, and that's what makes the hybrid. So what you want to do is make sure that this crown is covered. I usually just bring all the earth up around it.
So you give it a good covering.
A good covering. It should, by rights, be as much as 8 inches. If you don't have enough soil around, then you must bring in from another part of the garden and add to it.
Now, does it really matter, Claire, what this soil is comprised of? Does it have to be garden soil? Does it have to be leaf mold, for instance?
I have found that soil is better. Leaves tend to get too wet in the rain that we have usually in the fall, and that freezes and causes more damage. So generally, any kind of soil from any part of the garden, your vegetables are gone, take it out from the vegetable bed and cover it like so. Then around about Christmas time, if you have a natural tree, cut some boughs, cedar or spruce, pine, lay them on top, and that will catch the snow and give them an insulation.
What about wrapping in plastic? A lot of people do that.
No, I don't advise it because the winter sun causes condensation underneath the plastic and it can't breathe.
So drainage is still very important,
Very
even when the
important.
ground is frozen.
Right.
Is there anything else that this will need now until spring comes?
No, nothing else. That is it.
Thank
And
you.
just keep them covered.
Thank you. Eric, summer blooming bulbs require a specialized treatment at this time of the year. Could we get into that and describe exactly when things should be done and how to take care of them?
Yeah, we have gladiolus, and we have dahlias and begonias, also canna lilies, which all have to be dug up in the fall and stored for the winter. And I'll show you how to dig up gladioli. First you gotta wait until the stalk itself dies down and get brown. However, if that doesn't happen before the frost comes, then you must dig them up before the frost, otherwise you won't get them up.
Now maybe we should explain that the reason we dig these up in the fall is because they are not hardy enough to survive a winter such as Sudbury has.
Yeah, they won't take the frost, and they will have to be dug up and stored.
So we either dig them up or lose them.
Yeah, you definitely will lose them unless they're planted very close to the foundation, which is a place you shouldn't plant them. And if you plant them there and you don't lose them, that means you're losing too much heat out of the house. So plant them away from the foundation so they don't get interfered with the foundation heat. This is a gladioli bulb, and it have the old bulb underneath here, which has to be removed before they are put away for storage. When you dig them up, clean them off and cut the stem about a couple of inches, an inch and a half, 2 inches, and let them dry for 2 or 3 weeks or so. Then remove all the roots and the loose stuff there, and before you put them away for storage, you can put them in a plastic bag and sprinkle some fungicide on them and shake it up there to keep the bulb from rot and get moldy and mildew in the winter time. They store a lot better. And
Okay, excuse me, Eric, you'll see that there's a fair bit of mud that's left on that bulb. Should you wash that off and clean it under a garden hose or wipe it in any way?
well, it could be washed off. It could be washed off in mild soap solution, and but it's not necessarily. After it's dry, that will fall off, and you can just rub it off, and then store them in a peat moss, in a box with peat moss, and you're pretty safe that they will survive the winter.
What kind of temperatures do they need for winter storage? Once you get them into your box of peat moss, where do you put them?
You put them in a cold storage, crawl space, and the garage is not freezing. It should be between 35 and 50 degrees. No warmer and no colder. It must not freeze. Because the bulb will freeze.
Yes, you would put them in a spot that would give them as much cold temperature as possible without actually freezing.
Yeah. And as far as dahlia goes, dahlias, most people know what dahlias is, and they can also be dug up as late as possible. And if there's too much clay soil on them, you can wash that off there. But make sure that they are absolutely dry before they're stored away for the winter. And put them in a flat box with upside down, and then sprinkle peat moss around them and put them in the cold storage too.
Why is it so important, Eric, to make sure that they're dry before they're storing? Is that not going to dehydrate them too much?
No, it won't. It is very important. Otherwise, they'll just rot and get mildew and get spoiled during the winter.
Now, once you put them away, do they require any specialized attention during the winter months?
No, not really. I would suggest that you check them once in a while, make sure that they're not drying up or they're not getting mildew on them and rotting and things like that.
And what do you do with them if you see that they are drying a bit?
Well, you can moisten the peat moss a little bit, and that way you will keep the humidity so it won't dry up. It could happen that they would dry up in case you have a storage area where there's a lot of ventilation going through there and drying them up. But stored in peat moss, it shouldn't happen.
It should be okay.
Yeah, and also begonias, tuberous begonias, you take in and store.
Are they stored in the same manner, in a peat moss container?
They can be stored like that. I take mine in sometimes and just put the whole thing in the cold storage, in the crawl space, and just let it dry out and leave them there.
Quite often by this time of the year, the top of the begonia itself is pretty shop worn. It's been hit by a bit of frost and it looks pretty bedraggled. Do you leave that all on for the winter storage?
No.